Hello everyone, I just want to back up the tier list with another episode of Theorycraft. This time I want to talk about the two guild alliance on ZvZ. I think it's an important topic that I don't see a lot of people really caring too much, but I think it's important. Uh, so the first thing I want to say is the current system that we have, of course, it's alliance with four guilds, right? The types of server that we see the most are dominated servers, which is just one alliance taking control of the whole server and free farming, which happens a lot of times when one alliance is too strong in that server that's too dead to overcome. So that alliance just free farms non-stop and has everything, and then it gets even harder to take out this alliance. The other situation is on a more populated server, which there's one alliance versus another alliance, but usually one alliance is gonna win most of the times, like 90% of the times. And the more chaotic servers, which is gonna be like 3 to 4 fronts, usually it's gonna be three fronts at this point in the game, right? Three alliances. And I want to talk a little bit like how the change is gonna affect everything. So the new alliance situation, most alliances will be split in two, with some exceptions of like some guilds in an alliance transferring, or those alliances that had three guilds, which did happen. Uh, the meta of the ZvZ will change a lot, but will be very dependent on the server competition slash population. So the meta will be very size dependent. Uh, the cool thing is that less competitive and smaller guilds are gonna have a chance to actually play the PvP now, so that's pretty cool. PvP will likely be more defensive than the offensive. That's why the tier list changed quite a bit. That it showed my predictions, is because I actually think securing a spot to survive is gonna be more important than just killing enemies, because there's gonna be way more sides and way more fronts fighting each other. I also expect a lot more alliances to start teaming up, like on tier 1. But on tier 1, we had the whole system that was the fielded slash enemy alliances, right? And then people would just mark other alliances as enemies and then just not attack the red people, and ended up being a teaming problem. Nowadays, we don't have that, so there's a big deal. The biggest problem we're gonna get is gonna be the third party concept, the battle royale effect. That means like going first most of the time is gonna be like a terrible idea, because you're just gonna be sending your alliance versus another alliance. Even if you win, you're gonna be losing numbers and taking numbers out, and then the other alliance is gonna third party, and you're gonna lose the battle, probably, very likely. The terrain is going to affect a lot the position of who attacks first and set somewhere, or like who can attack who. So that's going to be very dependent on the terrain. The cool thing is that the dominant alliance, the strongest alliance, are not going to be that powerful, because in this game numbers mean a lot of things. And even if your alliance is going to be strong with two guilds, that means there's so many other enemies that they can take out of your alliance if they decide to focus on you. And campaign teaming will happen, like I said, but the battle royale example I said is like here. We have four alliances. Let's say alliance 1 decide to attack alliance 2. So we are gonna have this first slide where the alliance 1 loses a bit of their members, and alliance 2 loses almost all of them. Then you can have like Alliance 3 check that they attack, they have lower numbers and decide to attack. So now they attack, the Alliance 1 has less members, Alliance 2 has even less members, and Alliance 3 lost a few of the members. So now the Alliance 4, there's gonna be the second third party, has the biggest advantage of the field. And the Alliance 2, the first one that got attacked, is gonna have the first reflux. So it can kind of go off a cycle like that, but it's way more chaotic. It's not that pretty. It's not going to be that organized. A lot of things can happen in the middle, but it's just the fact that you can expect to come from this change on the ZvZs. It's going to be a lot more about being defensive, surviving, grouping your Zerg, and like moving as a unit, instead of like the two-sided fights that were most of the servers. So the first situation is going to be the dominated server, which is going to get split in two, 140, 140 on each side. Likely, one of the sides is going to dominate, similar as it was on the 1 versus 1 alliance servers. One side is gonna be much stronger, much superior, and gonna win probably like 70 to 80%, if not 100% of the times. And then the other alliance leaders are probably gonna give up, lose servers, or get lucky that another alliance forms for a third party. ZvZ will much more be similar to GVG because it's gonna be really close to what small scale thing is. It's gonna be like a boomstone or riftstone of like 70s/60s versus 70s/60s, right? So it's gonna be like two guilds or two guilds, which is the alliance size, and it's gonna be very similar to what a GVG is actually. This is probably gonna be one of the most interesting, like fun/mechanical fights. It's gonna become more like closer to how the party plays, how the individual player plays, the composition, and like synergy and shot calling. It's gonna be pretty fun, probably. Gear score is gonna be very important on this one, as it's just less numbers, right? So individuals gonna matter a lot more, and there's a very big chance that the two alliances, if they were in good terms before the split, might just team up and like have turns on each boss. So, for example, today's Desert boss, this alliance is gonna be doing this other alliance is gonna defend. And then the other boss, and the other alliance is gonna farm, the other alliance is gonna defend. It's pretty annoying, but it's part of the game. It's gonna be, of course, great for the low NPCs for the PvP. The other situation on the dominated server is you have one big alliance is gonna split in two, right? And that split's gonna make them fight. And in this case, they are fighting each other. What will likely happen is the smaller guilds on that server can probably start forming a new front, because getting two guilds is much easier than getting four guilds organized for a PvP Zerg fight. So I expect like new alliances, new small alliances in those servers to form a third front. So it's gonna be a bit more chaotic, and that's a bit better for the game, for the health of the PvP, because that means even those weaker alliance, the two weaker alliances, are gonna have a chance to fight and win the PvP. Likely the strongest alliance will still win more often, but that's a good way to like kind of shake up a little bit of the PvP and the balance. So it's pretty cool. Now the 1v1 alliance server is gonna be very chaotic. It's gonna be a forefront. It's gonna be like for 140, 140, 140, 140, unless one alliance slash a few guilds give up on the server and end up transferring, which I do think will happen over time. But on more dedicated servers, are gonna have four fronts, and the same thing gonna happen as like a small alliance guild's gonna probably pop up in the middle as well. So you're gonna end up with a 4 front or a 5 front, which is crazy. Having a 5 front is insane. But due to how chaotic it's gonna be, I don't think there's gonna be a winner every time. I think it's actually gonna change quite a bit who wins and who loses. Of course, the strongest alliances are usually gonna be on higher positions, on like ranks for damage on bosses or anything that revolves about percentages on winning. They're gonna win more often. There's gonna be a lot of teaming, politics, and drama, because there's a lot of guilds and a lot of guild leaders involved, right? Good shot calling and defensive play will be like probably the thing that will grant the most percentage of returns/wins. And low NPCs will start to struggle quite a bit here. But that's about it. Now for the 3 front alliance servers, those are gonna go insane, because they're gonna probably go to a 6 front, which is crazy. And even if they go to a 6 front and a small guild/alliance join, let's say a 7 front, a 7 front is just crazy. Like, I have played servers that had 4 fronts on the start of tier 1, and it was just so chaotic. Like, the entire pit was filled with people. There was a group everywhere. There was chaos. And usually the first person that got in and got to the end of the pit, or like the further away position from the pit, were the ones that dominated, because all the other guilds were like killing each other on the way to the end of the pit. So it's mega chaotic. I think in this situation, the winner is always going to be changing, but probably is going to be, like I said, the one that is more defensive and the ones that get position. Again, teaming, politics, and drama will affect this a lot. There will for sure be teaming. If you get to this size, it's very normal to start getting teams and things. And just survive is going to mean a lot. And you're definitely going to need to have good PC to play this one. Alright. Now, the Hyperboost situation. I think most servers are either going to stay how they are or lose one of the alliances in the process. So it's going to go like split in two and lose one, split two in two and lose one. You know, it's going to be because of the Hyperboost situation and the transfers. I think most people will either transfer out because it's going to be too hard to win or too chaotic. And most people just want to stay in servers that they can farm and win easily. That's most Throne players. Actually, most of them don't really like the PvP. They like to be on the winning team. That's just the truth. That's why people, when they lose, they just transfer out or just give up. It just helps people work, since transfers are a thing that are allowed. I think this is what's gonna happen. Most servers will start very chaotic, and then they're gonna establish themselves on usually 3 fronts or 4 fronts. I think that's gonna be the average for the PvP in like almost every server. I don't think you're gonna find a server that's gonna be like 140 versus 140 or just 140 dominating the whole server. I think that's gonna be very hard to achieve. Maybe 1 or 2 exceptions here and there, but it's still, I think it's gonna be very chaotic. I think Hyperboost, since they're gonna add a new server, will likely be the most popular one. The reason behind that is because we are gonna get new players for sure. We're gonna get new players, and now the new players are not gonna go on old servers. They're all gonna go on new servers, and the new servers are gonna be very populated and very chaotic, and the PvP is gonna be mega fun. And a lot of old players like me and other veterans probably gonna want to play on the Hyperboost, not only just for the Lucent potential slash farm, but as well because it's gonna be way more fun than the old servers for the PvP and like everyone starting together. It's gonna be very fun. So I actually expect like that's just an exaggeration, but I think the Hyperboost server is gonna be a fiesta. Like if you like chaos, if you like playing PvP like that, it's gonna be amazing and probably a one-time experience that's just gonna happen now and probably gonna take months, if not another year, to happen again. So I do suggest trying the Hyperboost. But regardless, I want to talk a little bit about my ZvZ tier list, Theorycraft. Like I said, will change a lot based on your server situation. The smaller your server, the closer to a ZvZ composition, like I said before. Single target classes will struggle a lot more because there will be way more enemies, way more targets, and less allies compared to now. Melee classes will also struggle a lot more because the same reason as a single target, you're gonna have way less space to move. Everyone around you is probably gonna be an enemy. So if you spread a bit too far or move a little bit too far, you're gonna be caught on like the crossfire of like 2, 3, 4, 5 alliances killing each other. And defensive will be the best offensive. That's I'm pretty sure defensive is gonna be the best offensive because it's gonna be way too chaotic to make offensive plays make sense or like be rewarding. You're basically fighting. You're fighting against the edge of a knife. Let's say the point, the end of a knife. You're punching a knife. You're forcing against. Numbers are gonna be so much higher than your allies, and it's gonna be chaotic. So just playing defensive is gonna be worth a lot more than the offensive. The first thing I want to say about the tier list, I already made the video a little bit ago, is a lot of people were like, oh, but Expo is amazing because it can kill healers faster, single target is one of the best. Oh, but GS Dagger is still really strong. Oh, my class can do 1v6. Yes, but that's a ZvZ tier list for the new 2 guild per alliance system, Theorycraft. It's not related to VG or small scale, and a lot of classes will be much stronger or much weaker based on the situation. But for ZvZ, you gotta remember that being tanky, having AoE damage, right, and having potential for picking enemies off from far away is gonna be way more important than single target or flanking or like killing the reflux of another alliance, because that's gonna matter a lot less now because it's not gonna be a very clean two-sided. It's gonna be a very chaotic fight. A lot of people were like, oh, why you didn't put Orb? Because Orb's not out yet. I don't like to speculate on like a weapon that we only saw a few skills. We don't know the buffs, damage, duration, or potential of said weapons. So I just worked with what we have, and I didn't want to like try to think too much about it because it's gonna change probably the whole game again. But what we have right now, what we know right now, is still gonna follow through probably for the most part, and either gonna move a little bit up or down the tier list. And the tier 3, why I didn't think too much or didn't change too many things wildly, I only took in base like the considerations that I said of defense being better than offensive. That's why I put some classes much higher than they were before, like SNS Staff, SNS Dagger, SNS Spear, things like that got bumped really higher to me because of the defensive. And on tier 3, things could change entirely, just like SNS Expo was a very dead class on tier 1, basically. No one played it. And because of Cordion, tier 3 got bumped to like God tier, right? So a weapon can change the whole viability of a combo. That's why I cannot change anything, because we don't know what's going to change on tier 3. We don't know the weapon passives, if endurance is going to be better, if heavy attack evasion is going to be better, if crit or heavy is going to be better, if evasion is going to be better. All of that is unpredictable because it all depends on AGS. Like I said, it's a ZvZ, so of course AoE is better than single. That's why Staff Dagger is definitely in front of X-Bow or GS or Bow, because Staff is much stronger on AoE. And it's just like I said, single target of X-Bow is amazing, Bow is amazing, GS is amazing, but it's single target. X class is better than Y. That happened a lot. A lot of people want to argue that X-Bow should be the better class because it is the better class in single target. It is one of the only classes that can melt healers. But at the same time, you gotta understand that there's different roles. For example, X-Bow can do all of that, but it's very short range. And if you compare to something like Bow Dagger, a Bow Dagger is very long range, and a Bow Dagger can easily pick off like targets from very further away, like 30 meters on high ground or the other side of the field. So it's a very strong class on that notion. So that's why I put it up there. The GS Dagger can do the same thing, and even better / faster, I would argue. It's harder to defend. But the GS Dagger also is melee, so there's a lot of things that goes against that, even more on a ZvZ. So there's a reason for that. I already said about that, but the SNS and the defensives, the reason why SNS is probably gonna be S and A tier, I probably should push those two up, is because I think there's gonna be so much cheap damage, and the SNS, just by having the blockchains, will reduce that by quite a bit, and then having the damage reduction from their skills are also gonna reduce everything. So I think having a very solid, like tankish clump is gonna be more important than the offensives. That's why I think SNS is gonna be broken. Is already broken, but it's gonna be even more broken. And I think finally the thing that I think no one complained, or a better saying, people said, oh, it's the same list. Yeah, it's similar because it's what we expect from what we already figured out for ZvZ, right? Orb is gonna move that a little bit for sure, but it's what we have been learned from the entire tier 2. This is a very similar list to what people will say it's decent or like viable. But I think I changed a lot of things, like in order what's stronger than everything. Gladiator to me was very strong because of the hit, but now everything has hit, so Gladiator lost a bit of the value because evasion is really weak regardless. Before, Gladiator was one of the only classes that could kill evasion constantly. Now every class can almost reach decent hit to hit evasion, so evasion is really bad right now. So Gladiator lost a lot of value, but Gladiator can still do a lot of things and like build very eclectic, let's say like that, to do breezerish / tankish and at the same time do damage, and there's a lot of functions. So that's why I decreased the rank, because it lost the main shine of it, but also is still really strong right now. And why did I put SNS Spear the Steel Heart upwards? Is because if you think about it, what kills people most of the time are not just X-Bow daggers. Of course, that's one of the things, but it's cheap damage and getting hit and getting healing cut, or like marked or whatever, and then your health doesn't regen as fast as you expect, and you end up dead. The SNS Spear has the benefit of having an SNS on hand, which will give you blockchains. It has the benefit of having defensive skills that is gonna like nullify most of the cheap random damage that you're gonna get. On top of that, it also has one of the best CC resistance in the game, so you can have collision resistance, weaken resistance, and you're not gonna like get pinned down by CC or get heal cut because you're gonna have weaken resistance. You're not gonna get cursed as often. You have a lot of things that will keep you alive, and on top of that, SNS and Spear has the benefit of having some damage with the Spectrum of Agony from the SNS proccing by the Javelin of the Spear. So if you have not seen, you can search, I probably could put a clip here, but I'm lazy. You can search SNS Spear doing a lot of kills in ZvZs or GVGs or even Boom/Rifts, right? Because they just do that. They don't die, they stack Javelin, and they use the Spectrum of Agony to kill everyone around them using the Javelin bounces, and every time the Spectrum of Agony procs is get a little bit of damage, like the SNS Quarty, right? The Quarty X-Bow. It's a similar thing, but the difference is it has a lot more defensives, and it's a lot easier to proc nowadays than the X-Bow, because the X-Bow has some requirements, right? So yeah, that's kinda it, to be honest. I just wanted to put my points and explain. Let's see if there's more. No, that's about it. Thank you for watching. I think this video was a bit nerdy. There's one more that I want to do using PowerPoints. That's going to be talking about Throne and Liberty in 2025 and like if you should go back to playing, what changed, and how is the game going. But for this one, I think I've set my points. Thank you for watching. See ya. Bye.